Have you ever been on either side of this? Being cut off by a friend you've known for years, or being the one to do the cutting? It's this really painful, confusing thing that we usually see as, just a brutal move. But what if I told you the psychology behind it is way, way more complicated than we think? Let's get into the hidden reasons behind this really tough decision.
Right? This is what everyone thinks. That ending a long friendship is something you just do on a whim, that the person doing it just stopped caring. It's a story that automatically paints one person as the villain.
But the real story, the one that's actually unfolding inside someone's head, is almost always the complete opposite of that. It's not some sudden, impulsive choice. It is a conclusion, one that's reached after a long, quiet, and honestly, a pretty painful internal debate.
Yeah, people don't just wake up one day and decide to delete years of connection. It's more like the final result of this slow, emotional math that's been happening in the background, where the cost of staying in the friendship has finally started to outweigh the benefit of the bond.
So, what's going on during this whole calculation? Well, the first big reason is a massive shift in who you are, your identity. You see, as we grow and change, our whole internal world evolves, and sometimes the people who only knew our old world just don't fit into the new one. Just think about it for a second. Your values, the boundaries you set, how you see yourself, all of that changes over time. And when an old friendship is basically built on a past version of you, your mind starts to feel that disconnect. Staying connected can literally feel like you're being pulled backward into a person you've already outgrown.
So, it's not really about rejecting your shared history or the good times you had. The decision to pull away is often this deep, almost subconscious need to protect the stability of the person you've worked so hard to become. It's about protecting your own growth.
Okay, the second major factor is when the whole emotional dynamic of the friendship gets completely out of whack. The connection stops feeling like a source of support and, well, it starts to feel like a job.
And look, it's almost never one big fight that ends things. Not really. It's the slow, quiet buildup of this emotional imbalance. You start to feel like you're always giving 90%, the support, the listening, the flexibility, and you're only getting maybe 10% back in return.
Over time, your brain actually starts to refile the relationship. It stops seeing your interactions as connection and starts flagging them purely as effort. And once that switch flips, creating distance doesn't feel painful anymore. It feels like relief. A real, genuine relief.
One of the clearest signs that a friendship is on its last legs is silence. Psychologists call this emotional withdrawal. And it's not apathy, it's not that the person doesn't care, it's actually the mind's way of saving energy after trying and failing to be understood. The final cutoff only happens on the outside after the communication is already completely broken down on the inside.
So when you put all these pieces together, ending a friendship is rarely an attack on the other person. It's actually a profound act of self-preservation. It's about someone finally choosing their own mental peace over the chaos of a relationship that just doesn't fit who they are anymore.
And a huge part of this is escaping a role that you've been stuck in. Old friendships can be amazing, but they can also lock us into these fixed identities, right? Maybe you were always the funny one or the quiet one. But what happens when you're just not that person anymore?
At the end of the day, cutting ties isn't about disliking your friend. It's about refusing to be trapped in an outdated version of yourself. It's a declaration of personal freedom. It's about authenticity.
Now, this is one of the hardest but most mature realizations you can have. Closure doesn't always come from a big talk. Sometimes the other person just won't get it, no matter how perfectly you explain it. Emotionally mature people eventually accept that when talking stops leading to understanding, distance is the only boundary left that actually works.
So maybe we need to look at these endings a little differently. It doesn't mean you're cold or heartless. It often means you've finally learned the lesson that relationship was there to teach you. See, not all connections are meant to last a lifetime. Some are there to help shape you and then to let you go.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to sit with. Learning to recognize that critical turning point, that's a sign of a really healthy mind, and it's what leads to healthier connections in the long run. So the question to ask yourself is this: when does holding on cost more than letting go?